Hello again, Year 9. So we are changing slightly. We're still doing the living world, but we've got a new case study, and that is the hot desert. So we are going to introduce the hot deserts today, and we are trying to understand the main characteristics of hot deserts in general, looking at their distribution, climate, soils, and vegetation. First of all, please write today's date and title in your book. And for a quick quiz, 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of ecotourism from last lesson. You will want to pause now. And please check your answers. You can have any 2 advantages and disadvantages. Please pause to check. So on to the body of today's lesson, looking at location, climate, soils and vegetation in a general way for all hot deserts. And here is a task. You did this before for tropical rainforests. Now have a look at the location of hot deserts. I have named some of the hot deserts here. Remember to look for an overall pattern. Now, a really big clue is at the side, the dotted lines are named the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So look for patterns and then you name some continents and countries, use compass directions. You will want to pause to write your answer before checking on the next slide. So, a 3-mark example is here. The world's hot deserts are usually located in 2 belts north and south of the equator. Hot deserts are usually found between the latitudes of 13 to 35 degrees, close to the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Examples of hot deserts include the Sahara, which is in the continent of Africa, and the Great Western Australian deserts. Now, usually we would try to put in there an exception to the rule. For a 1-mark example, you see it's not incorrect, but it is lacking in detail. The climate. Well, obviously it's hot. That's why it's called a hot desert. But hot deserts experience high daytime temperatures. They can rise to above 40 degrees Celsius and low nighttime temperatures. They are high pressure areas with very little cloud cover and very infrequent rainfall. Several months may have no rainfall at all. Hot deserts have 2 seasons. Summer, when the sun is high in the sky and is very hot, and winter, when it is cooler but still very warm compared to Britain. I'd like us to take a look at the global atmospheric circulation model again in order to understand why the climate of hot deserts is the way it is. So on the left-hand side, where it shows A and those 2 red arrows, that's to do with the amount of solar energy that the hot deserts receive. And it is close to the equator, so it gets a very large amount, just not quite as much as the equator. So the high temperatures are because of the high solar energy. On the right-hand side, B is pointing to the areas of very high pressure. So here, where the 2 cacti are in the hot deserts, air is falling in these latitudes. So this gives very high pressure because the air is falling down. Now, high pressure is also associated with a lack of cloud. And a lack of cloud means all of the solar radiation can come in during the day and it can all escape at night. So during the daytime, the sun is high in the sky and it can heat up the ground and the air near the ground to over 40 degrees C. Because there are no clouds, all of the solar radiation can come into the area. But at night time, equally, because there is no cloud, all the heat that's already there can escape, and because the sun has gone down, there's no new heat coming in. So air temperatures near to the ground can fall close to freezing. Now a task for you. Here is a climate graph, slightly different to the climate graph for the tropical rainforest, because it's again two graphs with precipitation at the bottom with the blue bars and temperatures with the red lines, but you'll see that there are two red lines, a minimum and a maximum. That's because there can be such a large range in between the nighttime and the daytime temperatures. So you need to pause and you need to answer this question. Using the graph below, describe and account for the climate of a hot desert biome. Account for means to give reasons. Give reasons why the climate is like it is in the hot desert. This is a 6-mark question, and here is a very poor answer. Hot deserts are very hot and very dry because they are near the tropics. It is not incorrect, but it is not a good answer. So pause and write down a better answer in your book. Here is an excellent answer to that question, and you can see the size of the answer. There is a lot here. So in black, it's my description, and in purple, it's the reasons where I'm accounting for the climate of the hot desert biome. So I would like you to pause again. I'd like you to read this through fully. I'd like you to go back to your answer, check it, and then improve upon your answer. On to soil. Now, desert soils tend to be sandy or stony, and they have very little organic matter due to the general lack of leafy vegetation. They are dry, but they can soak up water rapidly after rainfall. Evaporation in the strong sunshine draws salts to the surface of the soil, and it often leaves a white powder on the surface. Now that white powder I think you can see quite well in this photograph here. Desert soils are not very fertile. They cannot sustain a lot of vegetation. Here's a typical photograph of an area of desert. There's a person in the halfway towards the background, and you can see that even these large shrubs are not much taller than a person. They might be up to about 2 meters. Now that's not very much, considering that some of those trees in the tropical rainforest grow 25 times the size of that. So there's not a great number of plants, but the plants that there are also a lot smaller. Even the largest plants in this photograph are still small compared to plants in other places of the world. They need to be specially adapted to strong sunlight, but cold nights, low rainfall, and salty conditions. So this lesson has given you a good general overview of the location of hot deserts and the reason for the location, the climate and the reasons for the climate, the soil and the reasons for the soil, and the general lack of vegetation and the reasons behind that. So we're going to pull a few things together here in this plenary question. In what ways are climate and soil features interdependent in hot deserts? Interdependent is one of those words we've been using a lot so far in this topic. Remember that it refers to the way in which different aspects of the ecosystem rely on each other and affect each other. I've included a few things that you might want to add to your answer there. When you've done your answer, either take a photograph of it or type it up and send it in to your teacher on email or Show My Homework. Next lesson, we're going to have a look at some adaptations of vegetation to climate and soil in the hot desert. Thank you.